Hello everybody, I'm Sherry Schreiner, and I just wanted to make this video on soul scalping because it's something I was warning about last year, that this year would be dominant, something on a massive scale, and that's exactly what it's been and continuing to be. And so I recently wrote an article on it. You can see it at sherryschreiner.com. You can see the top link, my website here. You go there and Sherry's articles, and click on soul scalping when you get to that page. But soul scalping is the last phase of their human domination plan of the end game for the reptiles, and they are soul scalping and replacing humans at all top levels and secondary levels, even their families if necessary. I know we've been seeing it on a massive scale with celebrities and news announcers, even people in commercials. Everybody you see on TV, about 90% is a clone or a synthetic robotoid or a soul scalped person. And I want to talk about how they do it, how they soul scalp people. One of the reasons it's made me really angry, especially of late, is because it happened to somebody I knew, somebody that I wasn't exactly friends with, was always at war with her. She was a high-level ranking witch. She worked in D.C., always trying to find new ways to kill me, and so it was fun for me. I mean, usually when you're in my shoes, people are trying to kill me with poisons or sending assassins or SEAL teams or whatever. She was different, and it was just a lot more fun and challenging for me to stop her, to go after her. And so when she got soul scalped, because Lucifer's doing it to all the humans in DC, it was like the last straw, because she was the last human I even knew left in DC. Over the years, I've had a lot of contacts there. I can't call them friends, but they were contacts. And they've been killed, most of them, or replaced. They get killed, and then, their deaths are never announced on TV because they just replace them. And hers won't be either, because she has a show on TV every day. And they'll probably just continue to do the show and bring in her, because she was just soul scalped, so it's still her body. It's just controlled by a lizard now. And the father showed me how they do it, because I was very upset, and he showed me how they do it, and so I wrote this article. And what they do is they take, I'm going to show you here. They take a snake. It's about 6 to 8 inches long. You can see it right here. I got here and here. It's kind of like a representation of what they do. And they shove this serpent down your throat. And it wraps around your spinal cord and takes control of your brain. And so that's how they do it, folks. There's 2 different types of soul scalping. This is the serpent kind. This is when they put this in you. People who have this snake in them, the serpent in them, Lucifer can embody that serpent and then overtake the person. That's how they do it. That's how he does it. That's how he possesses people. That's how he did Hitler. That's what he does to Obama. Sometimes you can hear him speaking through Obama. When the serpent is inside of them, anything that's a snake, Satan can embody and dwell and then take over that person's body. And so this is kind of like a representation of what it looks like. It's actually looks like a slimy gray long worm, but that's about the best thing I could come up with online at Google Images for that. Another way they do it is the reptiles, the lizards themselves, have what's called a quill, a proboscis on top of their heads, kind of like represented right here. And they can eject this off their head. And it starts to sweat and produce I don't know what you want to call it, some kind of liquid. And what happens is this entire reptile, his whole consciousness, his whole self, his whole being, he puts it into this small part. And they eject it off their head. And then they wiggle their way into a human's eye. And you can see kind of here a representation of it. And they go in the back and they wind around a person's optical nerve. And they kind of nests itself in the person's brain. It also takes control of the person's brain at that point. And so, if they have help, if there's more than one reptilian there at the time, they can actually pull a human's eyeball out and stick that thing, that quill, that proboscis, inside their eye, the back of the eye, and it nests in the optical nerve back here, and then kind of sits itself up against the person's brain. And that's how they do it. There's two different ways of soul scalping. So you're going to get this thing put in your eye, or this thing shoved down your throat. Now the ones who have the ones in the eye, Lucifer himself can't embody. That's just a typical lizard possession, soul scalping. The serpent kind is the one Lucifer can embody and indwell that person then through the snake. And so that's how they do it. You know, I was warned about this. I've been warning about this years ago, soul scalping, and then people just think you're crazy. But you can see it now, especially people who get this one, either one I guess, because they get the slit eyes. You'll start seeing their eyes. The pupils are no longer round. They'll turn slit, like a cat's eyes. The eyes are a mirror to the soul. So when you look at a person's eye, if they're not normal, then that person's not normal. You know, I was told by one of them years ago that duplicating a human's eyes are the hardest thing for them to do. They can duplicate a human's body. They can clone them. They can make them, grow them in laboratories, so to speak. These are the cloning centers. But the hardest thing for them to duplicate is the eyes, the human's eyes. And so their eyes are always going to be different than ours. And this is what is pretty much coming on us now in full force, because they're going after the secondary people, which means all the primary ones have already been soul scalped. All the government leaders, anybody seen on TV. I was told by the Switch herself, who has a show on TV, every single person on TV now with their own show, whether it's your own show or you're an actor or an actress, you have to sign the dotted line. You have to sell your soul to Satan to get on TV. And so it's the same way with news announcers, gossip rag mag type shows, you know, Inside Edition and all those celebrity type shows. A sports announcer, you know, football and all that. You have to sign the dotted line. You cannot be on TV now without having signed the dotted line. And what they do with athletes is they have an approval list. And I actually heard this, I was watching a football game, and there was a sports reporter on the football field. And I heard the anchor say to him, the news reporter, the sports reporter on the field wanted to interview an athlete. And so he asked the anchor, and the anchor goes, yeah, he's been approved, he's on the list. He actually said this on live TV, I caught it. And so then the field reporter started talking to the athlete. You have to be on the list. You have to be pre-approved to get TV time. That's one of the pushes why some athletes are so overboard with the promotion and others are completely ignored. Because you have to sign the dotted line to get attention on TV, to get interviewed, to get any kind of notice. And that's straight from the horses' mouths themselves. You know, I've talked to Lucifer and Lilith about it. Lilith dominates Hollywood. She loves getting involved with all that stuff. I recently came out with a book called Interview with the Devil. And I'll be coming out with one about Lilith. That was Adam's first wife. And when you hear stuff from the horses' mouths themselves, folks, it's their agenda. They're telling you how they do it, why they do it, and what they're doing. And so, you know, I didn't need them to tell me. I already knew what was going on, but we just kind of talk about it anyway. The Father has allowed me to expand. I guess just bring it to the forefront because I've always been the ambassador to Earth. I have a prophet's calling and a seer. I can see things. I'm a seer. And so I've always dealt with these people anyway as an ambassador on Earth. And so it's always been in the background when things are always done in the background, and now that I'm bringing them to the foreground so people can see, look, this is in Lucifer's own words, what he's saying, what he's doing, in his own words. And so, you know, I wrote this article, and he read it, and he before he even read it, he asked me, did you separate the types? He wanted to make sure people knew there was 2 different types of soul scalping. I was like, yes. I told him. I separated him. People want to know how you can protect yourself from being soul-scalped. Be in the Father. If you're not a born-again, blood-bought believer of the Most High's, and you're playing on Lucifer's playground, then he has access to soul-scalp you. If you have signed the dotted line for fame and fortune, he can soul scalp you, and he is. There's no doubt about it. What they're doing now, they're soul scalping everybody who has signed the dotted line. They can soul scalp their kids, their families. In particular, right now, the rich people of the world that used to be the top 1% that they would soul scalp and replace. Now anybody with $1 million or more is being targeted. Anybody with any kind of living trust, offshore account, any kind of trust account, any kind of offshore account. If you have $1 million or more, they're looking to soul scalp you and replace you. And I'll be talking about more of that. I'll be making more videos. But now would be a good time to just, if you have money, donate it, spend it. Support our war against Lucifer on Earth. Anyway, folks, I don't want to make this video too long. Till next time, God bless.